E. Production time. I'm Reid Stefan, Realest puppet in the game. Today, we're doing a complete breakdown of the newest and most disrespectful plugin in Ableton 12. I'm talking about Roar. And this brand new audio effect is a distortion plugin, but as you're gonna see in this tutorial, you can use it as a sound design tool, an EQ, a harmonic generator, compressor, and so much more. I'm gonna be applying this plugin to drums, synths, 808s, and vocals to show you how it can enhance all different sounds inside your mix. The song that I have pulled up is a track called Shot Caller Top 10 by Easy McCoy. I'm gonna drop Roar right onto this string instrument. And now, I don't want distorted strings, so we're gonna use this as an EQ. The secret to doing that is right here in this routing menu. By default, you get a single stage of distortion, but I'm gonna switch this down to Multiband, which is one of my favorite ways to use this plugin. This almost turns it into OTT for distortion. Your signal gets separated into lows, mids, and high frequencies, and you can adjust where your lows cross over and where your highs cross over, but 200 hertz and 2000 hertz are perfect place for me. Let's turn off our highs and mids and just solo the lows. And let's bring in our mids. And our highs. So just by doing that, I could tell that our lows were a little bit lacking in this instrument, and I want to use harmonic saturation to enhance the warmth of these strings. All we're going to do is increase the saturation amount here on our low band. Let's go extreme just so you could hear the difference. And we'll just solo the strings. So as we increase the amount, we're increasing the sensitivity where saturation starts getting applied to the signal. If we have the amount low, we would need a whole lot of drive for the distortion to get distorted. But if we have the amount high, it'll distort at very low levels, which is perfect for these strings. Let's turn without it. Night and day difference. So without EQing it, we've EQ'd these strings. We've used harmonic saturation, applied it just to the low end, and dialed it into taste to really fill in the warmth of these strings. We can also experiment with different shapers, and these adjust the shape of the clipping curve. I really like the tube preamp, especially when you're trying to add warmth to stuff. Just really smooth, pleasing as you turn it up. We can even isolate. Or have this pre-distortion. But I like having it post. Let's go without it. And Roar. Let's hear it with the mix. Let's go to a different string, and let's say we want to do the opposite. These strings only happen when the drums are going, so they might not need that extra low end. Let's use Roar to clean up the low end. So just like the last strings, I'm gonna put it into multiband mode. And let's just turn off the lows. Boom. Such a clean way to filter out the low end. And of course you could pick where it gets filtered here. Maybe for this, I'll do it at like 150-ish. And let's do this 1500 on the high end. Now let's do just the mids. I mean, even that's cool.
Future Hall of Fame, game 1, game 7. Keep my head locked in forever, I'm top 10. Focus on the plan, elevated my goal.
Especially with the vocal in there.
Dedicated my soul, I'll be gone in the winter, but summer I'm coming home.
Let's do something cool to this pad. So this is static, very acoustic, very organic sounding, but we could use Roar to do some sound design and add some modulation to it. One of my favorite things to do is to open up this and switch it to a sine wave modulation source. And let's change the rate to be, let's do quarter notes, just so it's easy to hear. And now let's go into our matrix and we're gonna apply LFO1. Let's do this to our frequency. And we could turn up LFO1 right here. Maybe not so much, just subtle. But that's enough processing synths and instruments. Let's get into enhancing some drums. One of the first things that I hear when I listen to this beat that I want to enhance is the claps. They don't sound bad, but they could be just a little bit tighter and brighter. So let's add roar on here, onto the group of both of them. And let's switch it into parallel. And this gives us a blend of two different stages of roar settings. So we can take the first stage and put this into noise injection. And let's turn the amount up. And for the second stage, we're going to go shards. And we could turn the compression up on this. And then let's turn the overall dry wet down, just to mix half and half. Without it. And back on. We can also use this tone switch to do some shelving. If we push it up, it reduces the bass and makes our signal brighter. And if we pull it down, it makes our signal heavier in the low end and reduces some highs. So let's push this up. Let's hear it before and after. And roar. Hey. Adding that little bit of noise helped them cut through the speakers so much. Another trick we could do here in Roar to make our claps feel even wider using this noise shaper is switching it into mid-side. Instead of two different layers of distortion, you now get one layer for the mids and one layer for the sides. So let's put noise out here on the sides and let's do shards here on the mids. And let's really push up the amount on the sides. Let's turn it off. So not only are we creating brightness by adding harmonic saturation, we're creating stereo information with harmonic saturation, all using Roar. Let's go down here and process this snare drum roll that we have here in the build-up. I feel like this whole loop snare could use a little bit more spice. So let's just brighten it up. So when I'm using saturation as an EQ, I'm almost always going to be using this in multi-band mode. And I'm going to go into the highs and use our crossover point to increase how high our highs are. I mean, we're processing a snare right now and I want it to be really snappy. So let's go from 4K to 6K and let's push up the amount of the highs. Maybe we could try something a little bit more hard on this, like a digital clip. Let's hear it in the mix. And without it. Whew. Back on. Insane how crispy and tight Roar makes that snare drum sound. And if you want to sauce up the mids a little bit with it too, you can, but I really liked what the highs are doing. I find myself using this almost the same way that I use Exciter by Isotope. Such a handy alternative to EQing, because a lot of times EQing feels like fake brightness, whereas putting harmonics up there creates actual bright content. You get to be as aggressive as you want. Now, speaking of aggressive, let's jump into mixing some 808s. The preset that I keep going back to is what I call the license plate rattling off the trunk of your car. Now, this is where I pull it into parallel mode, and we're gonna go really, really crazy on 2 different processed versions. You don't actually get that dry signal unless you pull in your wet-dry mix. But if you know me, you know that I don't like wet-dry knobs. I would much rather have something be layered in an audio effect rack. So we're gonna group our roar, and we're gonna put it next to a dry chain and adjust the level of our distortion independently from our dry. So let's layer this 808. I believe this is from Disrespectful 808s Volume 4. And it sounds good, but we're gonna do a little bit more sound design on this with our noise injection. Oof, that already sounds nice. And in stage 2, we're gonna hit it with shards. That's a little bit too disrespectful. Let's try tube preamp. Ooh, that's real saucy. So we're getting 2 flavors of distortion in parallel, and you can blend between these 2, but instead of blending between our wet and dry here, we're doing it over here in our rack. Let's hear it in the mix in the context of our whole track.
The top 10's right here. You know,
pull roar down a little bit.
The player of the year.
Got it.
MVP. You can never beat me.
You can go crazy on the noise. You know, maybe for the outro, you want to extra disrespectful with the noise. Just because you got space to, why not? Now, the one section we haven't touched much yet is the feedback mode, and this feeds the output of the distortion back into the distortion to get it twice as disrespectful and distorted. It's almost like feedback on a guitar amp. Oh my goodness. So obviously, if you're trying to turn your song into rock and roll, the feedback knob is going to be the control for you. Now let's go down into this vocal. One of the ways I could definitely see myself using roar on any vocal is before my entire chain to emulate what a preamp would do. That would be like a single point of distortion, and it would probably be a tube preamp. So let's see what this does on our voice.
It's my year, my time. Every day, all day, no lie. I be doing what I'm doing on the grind. You don't know me like that. I don't pay you no mind, but I'm still getting paid every day on time. A shot caller, the crowd love a baller. Big dog stepping in, don't cross him. No, I live good. My life awesome.
We can even combine that with our low cut, and this could even be like the high pass filter in our vocal chain. If I was mixing male vocals, I would probably do it somewhere around 80 or so, maybe a tiny bit of resonance right on the roll off point. Let's go pre-distortion.
Oh! Everybody know my name. Around the world, they know my game. I'm revered on the black top, I'm a living legend. Future Hall of Fame, game 1, game 7. Keep my head locked in forever, I'm top 10.
Maybe a little bit of compression.
Elevated my goal.
Turn off the RVox.
Dedicated my soul, I'll be gone in the winter, but summer I'm coming home like that.
Honestly, the built-in compressor here doesn't sound too bad on vocals, so I could even bypass the regular compressor plugin that I had after this. And this is your preamp, EQ, and compressor for your vocal chain all in one plugin. There's only one more spot in this song that I want to add this, and that's to enhance this deep vocal here in the hook. I feel like we could use this right before the entire chain. And let's do something a little crazier than 2 preamp. Let's do trifold. Yeah. Without it. Back on. So as you can see, whether you're trying to do something complex or basic, quick or deep dive, Roar has everything you need to be distortion, EQ, harmonic saturation, modulation, an all-around sound design tool that very well could be my new favorite stock plugin here in Ableton 12. If you want to check out more videos of me using Roar and other stock plugins, I'll link an entire playlist in the description below and catch you guys next time in another tutorial.